Hello everyone and welcome to part 19 of my Learn Ethical Hacking course. In this part we're going to look at a different method on how to hook a target machine to our beef framework. So this doesn't require the actual user. So it's a good thing about this method is that it doesn't actually require a user to connect to your website with the script in the HTML or the index.html. If you remember correctly, we had to put this inside our index.html that was on our local server, and when they visit that URL, in this case it was just our IP address, then they automatically were hooked. But for computers on the same network, we can actually use something called MITMF, and essentially this will just inject the hook.js file directly to their system or their server, the computer, and it will hook it automatically. This doesn't require them to visit any sort of website. They could be browsing Facebook, YouTube, any news company. It doesn't really matter. I should say news website. They will be hooked, and then you can still use it like normal. You can execute commands, fake updates, make them download your payload, etc. There's downsides to this though. They have to be on the same network. I will show in the future how to make beef work outside of your local network. But you can imagine this being like a public Wi-Fi spot, your own fake access point, and people connect to it. Then you could use this method to actually hook them without them even knowing it. So there's a few things you need. And in the terminal, I've opened up Beef. So I've got Beef and I've logged in. I've got no online browsers and no offline browsers. And all you need to do is type root n. So root-n. This will show routing table, and the gateway is the most important part. So where it says destination 0.0.0.0, the gateway IP address is important. So keep a note of that. In this case, for me, it's 192.168.110.2. We also need the IP of the target machine or target computer. Now, in a situation where you're in a public Wi-Fi spot, then you wouldn't be able to go over to that person's computer and type CMD and find out their IP address. You would have to use something like Nmap or Autoscan, which I will show in this course. But for now, we're just going to go to the target machine. We're going to open CMD, and we're going to just get the IP address manually. So you just type ipconfig inside CMD, and it's right here. The default gateway is also displayed, so you can see that they're both connected to the same router, which is important, otherwise it wouldn't work. So now we've got everything we need. We've got the IP address of the target machine, the gateway, and we also know our Kali machine's IP address. So I'm just going to open Terminator, and we can actually start with the man in the middle F poisoning, ARP poisoning. So let's make this a little bit larger so you can actually see. And what we're going to type here is not in capitals, MITMF for man in the middle F, hyphen ARP hyphen spoof. So every command starts with two hyphens, apart from this one, which is hyphen I, ETH0. God, I can't type. There we go. Now this could be WLAN 0 for you. It depends on what Wi-Fi card you're using. So if you type ifconfig, and you're using WLAN 0 to connect to your Wi-Fi using a wireless card, an external wireless card, then you would type WLAN 0. In my case, I'm using ETH0, so I'm going to type ETH0 here. It's also wired connection because it's using the host machine's wireless card, and when you use a virtual machine, it uses a bridged connection, so it acts as a wired connection between the virtual machine, because virtual machines are standalone computers, and it's acting as a separate machine, but using the same internal wireless card. That's why it's bridged, and that's why it's a wired connection, but the host machine is using a wireless connection. So we got ETH0, then we need to specify the gateway. The gateway starts with two hyphens. Then the gateway IP, which I just showed you. On the CMD, it's 192.168.110.2. So we just need to type that in, 192.168.110.2. Then we need to specify our target, so it's targets and the target IP address, which was 168.110.129. Then hyphen HSTS. Then we need to specify our method and what we want to do with this. So it's inject, because we want to inject a certain code. In this case, it's just JavaScript, so it's inject -js -url, and then it's just our beef. Our beef hook is a JS file called hook.js. So if we go scroll up on this terminal, you can see here it says hook, and it's this right here in between the two double quotes. We just need to copy this and paste it here. Then we just need to change the IP. So where it says IP, you want to get rid of the closing brackets, the angle brackets, and the word IP, and then type your IP address of the Kali machine. So in my case, it's 192.168.110.128. So now it's going to inject this script, JavaScript, directly into their browser, whatever website they visit. So man in the middle F, ARP spoof, and then we've got a gateway, a target. We're going to inject our hook.js, click enter. Now if you get an error saying it's not installed, I'm going to show you something. So I'm going to split this horizontally while that just starts. You need to type apt-get install, excuse me, man in, it's MITMF, man in the middle F. So if you click enter, it will start fetching the packets. I've already installed it, obviously, because it's running up here, but you just let it install, click wide so it could use up the space, and that's when you know it's installed. Now there's a few other commands, there's two more. This will prevent any errors from showing up because it's very buggy and glitchy and some random errors can appear. If you go to the description, type them in or copy and paste them into your terminal line by line. Do the first one, it's quite a lot. It installs everything that's required for man in the middle F, which is on the GitHub repository that's in the readme file. And then there's something else called Twisted. It's pip install Twisted. That will make sure everything works correctly. So once you've done that, I can just close out of that now, and we can go back to our man in the middle F. So everything's set up. Don't worry about this error if you get it. It's just going to start on a different IP address and different port. So we can go to our target machine and say this person goes to their browser. Bear in mind they're on the same network, but this could be a local public Wi-Fi spot, and they could go to bbc.co.uk. So they want to see the news. They go to bbc.co.uk. It works perfectly. I typed too many W's, so remove one W, and it will send them to bbc.co.uk. Now it does take a little bit longer than usual, but they do get there. Even though it doesn't look like the BBC website, it's because it's using up internet, bandwidth and such, so it doesn't load everything. But they still get to the website. They could go back to Bing, they could go to any sort of website, and if we go back to our Kali machine, you can see here that this is what the man in the middle F is actually injecting. So that's why it's taking up some of the internet bandwidth and reducing the speed, hence why it's not fully loading all of the CSS, but still works. They still get to BBC. They might think, oh, the internet's just a bit slow. It's understandable for some public Wi-Fi spots. They can still click on this like normal, so it can prove it's the actual website. So we'll have a look, 7 reasons why we love Stephen Hawking. So here we go. This is 7 reasons why we like him for some reason. And we'll go back to our Kali machine. So as you can see here, it's starting all this spoofs. So we can leave that running. And if we go back to our beef, you can see we've got a hook. We've got 2 hooked browsers. In fact, I apologize about that car beeping its horn. But we've got 2 hooked browsers. It's the same thing. It's because we keep going to different websites and it's just going to keep rehooking it. So what we'll do is we'll just go back to BBC and leave it as that. So that's just going to take a while to load. Now, obviously, because it's taking so long to load, people might get a little bit suspicious, but it still works. It still opens. They just will think the internet's a little bit slow because this is taking its toll on the internet. But we've still got a hooked browser, as you can see, through bbc.co.uk. And this is our target machine. So if we can do some commands, we'll just do some basic ones like alert. And we'll create an alert box saying, sorry, you have been hacked. Obviously you wouldn't say that to the person, but let's just execute it and go back to our target machine. The site says, sorry, you have been hacked. And we'll also take a screenshot of the desktop. Let's see if Spider Eye actually works. I'm not sure if this does, but here we go. Execute. We've got a previous command here. Let's re-execute it and see if it works. Now, if it doesn't, then that's because Spider Eye is actually quite shit. But you can use your payload. But you get the idea. We've essentially hooked the browser now. We've got full control of the computer once we upload or they download our payload. But there's so many things we can do with this. We could steal their information. You just have a look through here. Fake notification bars, make them download certain things. We can steal their credentials. So let's just steal some Facebook credentials. Here we go. So they might have Facebook opened. Now, if you're clever about this, you could see that this computer, this target computer, if you take a screenshot, now Spider Eye is a little bit iffy, but if it does work for you, then you could see if they're actually logged into Facebook, and then you could display this message. So in a way, it's more realistic, because if they're on bbc.co.uk and they're not actually on Facebook, then this looks a little bit strange. But we'll type test@gmail.com, password, click login, and it steals the credentials. So if we go to the previous command module, there we go. So there's the email and there's the password. So that's it for the video. That's a man-in-the-middle F ARP poisoning attack. It does have its benefits. Like I've said, they don't have to go to a hooked browsers or hooked website. The only disadvantage is that this will only work on local connections, local networks. But that's it. So if it did help, please leave a like. Comment if you're stuck with anything. I'll be happy to help. Subscribe for future content, and I will see you in the next video.